Hello, boys and girls. Welcome to a great day of learning. We are your teachers today. I'm Miss Alissa.
And I'm Miss Regenna. We are so glad to be with you today.
We have a great learning goal today. We are going to begin learning about the life cycle of trees. Our focus standards today are RI 2.2, RI 2.9, and W 2.8.
That's right. As a reminder, a cycle is a sequence of events that repeats itself again and again. A life cycle includes the stages of life, living things, and from seed to adult. A plant's life cycle begins with a seed. Can you remember the stages of the life cycle of a plant?
There you go. We have seed, sprout or germination, seedling, adult flower, and finally, seed dispersal.
Plants are vital for human and animal life. Plants give off oxygen. Plants are also provide foods for us and for other animals.
In a few moments, you will hear an informational read aloud about the life cycle of a tree. Before we do our read aloud, let's go over our critical vocabulary words.
That's right, Miss Alissa. We will share a vocabulary word, show you a motion, and give you the definition.
Let's begin with our first word. I'm going to syllabicate the word, and you can blend it together. Decomposers. What's the word?
I heard you. Decomposers. Decomposers is a word that is a plural noun.
Let's put our word on the chart. So decomposers are various life forms that help dead matter break down. Let's do the hand motion for decomposers. So for example, worms are common decomposers because they help make soil rich in nutrients. What is the word? Yes, decomposers.
Our next word is dependent. What's our word? That's right, dependent. Dependent means requiring something or someone's support. We could say that most nations are dependent upon our oil. Let's do our hand motion for dependent.
Good job. Now let's do our next word. Our next word is flexible. Flexible means able to bend and move easily. Flexible is an adjective, and so we could say we might be able to touch our toes to see how flexible we are. What's the word, scholars? Yes, flexible.
Next, we have the word germination. What's the word? Yes, germination. Germination is the process in which a plant begins to grow or sprout. The pea seed planted in a clear plastic cup began the germination process near the warm, sunny window would be an example sentence. Let's do our hand motion for germination.
Good job. And our final word is mature. Mature means to be fully grown. So we could say mature apple trees produce apples that we can pick in the fall. What's the word meaning fully grown? You've got it, mature. Now that you've learned our critical vocabulary words, I want you to repeat them after me. Decomposers, dependent, flexible, germination, and mature. Let's move on to our read aloud. So let's grab our stools so we can sit down. Scholars, listen carefully to learn how a tree's life cycle may be similar or different from that of a plant. We also want you to listen carefully for the main topic of the read aloud, the life cycle of a tree.
There are certain things on earth that makes life possible. We need water to live, just as we need the air that we breathe. Have you ever thought about where the air that you breathe comes from?
The air that you breathe is totally dependent on or supported by the existence of trees. Without trees, humans could not live on Earth. There are thousands of different kinds of trees in the world. They are towering sequoia trees and tiny dwarf willows. They all help to make life possible on this planet.
Trees provide us with many things and perform tasks that you might not even be aware of. For example, trees provide us with oxygen to breathe. Trees also take in carbon dioxide through their leaves. Carbon dioxide is a greenhouse gas, meaning that if too much of it builds up in Earth's atmosphere, our planet will heat up. Therefore, trees help to manage Earth's climate and keep it from livable for us. Tree roots help to fight soil erosion and flooding by holding the soil together and absorbing water from the soil.
Tree roots help stop the soil from wearing away over time. We use trees, or the wood that comes from trees, all over the world for all different kinds of things. Let's review the different parts of a tree. Do you remember what the main stem of a tree is called? The main stem of a tree is called the trunk. All branches of the tree grow out of the trunk. Tree leaves grow on the branches. The roots hold the tree in the ground. They not only hold the tree in the ground, they help to feed the tree. Roots absorb water and nutrients from the ground.
Absorb means to take in, just like a sponge absorbs water.
Exactly, Miss Regina. The water and nutrients travel up from the roots, through the trunk, and into the branches. Do you know why leaves are such an important part of a tree? Leaves are important because they enable the tree to produce food. Tree leaves produce food through photosynthesis.
Just like the leaves of flowering plants. Another important part of the tree is the outside layer called the bark. The bark protects the tree from outside forces such as heat, cold, insects, and bacteria.
Bacteria are very small living things that often cause disease.
Trees follow the same life cycle as other plants, just like that of a flower. A tree's life cycle begins with a seed. Tree seeds can be as large as tennis balls or as small as freckles. They come in various shapes and sizes too. They can be flat, smooth, bumpy, long, or thin. Tree seeds have three main parts. They are the embryo or egg, the stored food inside the egg, which enables the seed to grow and change, and the seed coat, which eventually falls off.
So most seeds are carried away from the parent tree that produced them. They are dispersed in various ways. They are carried by animals, people, wind, and even water. Wherever they land, they rest in the soil until germination begins. Germination is when a seed begins to grow or sprout. Certain conditions are required for germination to happen. We have learned that in the temperate parts of the world, the seasons affect the life cycle of living things, especially plants. Therefore, when there's enough warmth and direct sunlight, as well as water from rain, the seed splits open and germination begins. This usually occurs in spring when there is sufficient warmth and rain.
And this, Miss Alissa, is why April showers do indeed bring May flowers. Once germination begins, the seed produces roots that search for groundwater. The word groundwater is a compound word made up of the word ground and the word water. It means water that is underground. As they find water, the roots hold fast in the ground, and a stem grows up towards the sunlight. Tiny seed leaves open and use the sun and water to make food. The seed has become a seedling or young plant. Seedlings need just the right amount of water, warmth, and sunshine to grow. With the right conditions, seedlings develop into young trees with roots, a trunk, branches, and leaves. Young trees are called saplings.
So tree saplings are much smaller than mature trees or adult trees. Usually, trees are called saplings when they are between 3 and 15 years of age. A tree sapling's bark is smooth and its trunk is still flexible, meaning it can bend more easily than a mature tree can. Once a tree is considered mature, it may flower and produce fruits, nuts, or cones. Some trees simply produce seeds. There are two types of trees, deciduous and evergreen. Deciduous trees shed their leaves. Can you name some kinds of deciduous trees? Maple, oak, and birch are a few. Deciduous trees tend to have wide, flat leaves, whereas evergreen trees tend to be narrow and thin like needles. During the cold winter months, deciduous trees shed their leaves and become inactive for the winter, much like hibernating animals do during the winter time. In fact, this is what keeps them alive during the coldest part of the year.
To prepare for this time of rest, deciduous trees stop using their leaves to make food, and instead they shed these leaves. During the cold winter months, they save their energy until spring returns. In the spring, they will use their energy to produce new leaves. Evergreen trees, on the other hand, shed and reproduce their leaves throughout the year. So there are always green leaves on evergreen trees all year long.
Friends, what are some names of evergreen trees? Spruce, pine, and fir, just to name a few.
The cones of evergreen trees are its flowers. Unlike deciduous trees, evergreen trees do not shed all of their leaves at the end of fall. Instead, they use their leaves to make food all winter.
So how long does it take for a tree to grow to its full size? Well, that depends on a number of things. Different kinds of trees grow at different speeds. In tropical parts of the world where there is a constant intense sunshine and rainfall, a tree can reach maturity or become an adult in 30 years. In colder regions of the world, it can take 100 years or more. The length of a tree's life depends on many things. It will always depend on the tree having enough sunshine and water, but other factors can affect its growth and lifespan too. The condition of the soil in which the tree is growing and diseases such as insect infestations and bacteria can alter the natural lifespan of a tree.
Now, an infestation occurs when a large number of something harmful enters an area.
That's correct. Accidents such as fires and natural disasters, even hurricanes and floods, can have an effect too. Also, people cut down trees so that they can be used to make a variety of products. When a tree lives for a long time and then dies, it is not totally at the end of its journey. Decomposers like earthworms, bacteria, and fungi tend to take over the dead tree.
Fungi are living things such as molds, mushrooms, and yeast that live on dead or decaying things. Through the decomposition process, they help to slowly break down the tree into a rich nutrient that feeds the soil and enable new trees' seeds to grow. And there you have it, friends, the life cycle of a tree, a process that occurs over and over again and provide us with so many beautiful trees here on our beautiful planet.
Well, now that we've heard the read aloud, let's work through some comprehension questions together. All right.
Do you remember several things that make a tree an important part of life on Earth?
Ooh, I do. They provide us with oxygen and they help clean up the soil by absorbing or changing harmful chemicals.
That's right. Trees also take in carbon dioxide, which helps Earth's climate. They help fight soil erosion, and we use trees to manufacture all types of goods.
That's right. So what are the stages of a tree's life cycle?
I know. The tree's life cycle begins as a seed, then germination, it turns into a sapling, and finally it becomes an adult.
That's right. So, when does a tree's seed germinate?
I heard you, scholars. A tree's seed germinates during the spring when the temperatures are warmer and there is more daylight.
You are such tree experts. So, let's do the next one. When does a tree produce flowers and fruits?
That's right. A tree will produce flowers and fruits when it has reached maturity or the adult stage. Now, what is the difference between deciduous trees and evergreen trees?
Ooh, I know. The leaves of deciduous trees change in color and they fall off in the autumn. Evergreen trees shed and they make new leaves all the time.
That's right, scholars. We have one last question. What were the different ways the seeds are dispersed?
That's right. I heard someone say the seeds are scattered away from the parent tree by animals, people, wind, and water.
In the read aloud, you heard germination is when a seed begins to grow or sprout. Say the word germination with me. Germination. Germination is the process that causes a seed to begin to grow and develop into a plant.
So I could say the germination of the seeds planted at the same time popped up and covered our garden with tiny green leaves. I'm curious, have you ever watched a seed germinate? What happened to the seed? Did it change or grow new parts? Try to use the word germination when you tell us about it.
Very interesting observations. Let's do a quick activity with the word germination. We will give you two choices about what happens to seeds during the germination process. You will choose the correct answer. Be sure to use the word germination in your answer.
Here we go. Does germination happen to the seed or to the adult plant in the life cycle of a flowering plant? Remember to use germination in your answer.
If you said germination happens to the seed of a flowering plant, you got it.
Does seed germination happen in the spring or in the winter?
I heard you. The germination process usually takes place in the spring when the ground has thawed and the air is warm. Now, are water and sunlight or rocks and grass necessary for the germination process?
Yep, you knew it. Water and sunlight are necessary for germination to occur.
Amazing work, friends. Since you are such experts, I am now wondering if you could help us complete our apple tree life cycle chart here on our board.
That's a great idea, Miss Regina. It's looking very blank, so hopefully they'll help us get this done.
Yes, let's start with the apple seed. Where would I place the apple seed, scholars?
Great, you're right. Since this is a cycle, we're going to place it at the top up here.
What comes after the seed in the life cycle? Of course, the germination or the sprouting. We'll place it in the next area after the seed. What's next? There you go, roots. Roots grow and take hold while leaves begin to form. We'll place that part in the next part of our life cycle. Next comes what? Sure, the sapling. The young tree, we'll place it right here after the roots and leaves growing. After the sapling stage, what occurs? Of course, a mature tree. Let's place it right here in the mature trees. Now, because our next one is final, the mature tree is final, that's the end of the life cycle and it'll just begin over and over.
Good job. So now we have a completed life cycle of An apple tree, because we started with apple seeds, so we see, it's kind of hard to see up here, but there are little apples on my apple tree. So we've had a great time with all of you today.
Indeed, we've learned critical vocabulary words, discovered the life cycle of a tree, and even discussed one of our new words in depth.
What was that word, friends?
I heard it, germination. Great work. Don't forget, scholars, you helped us with our apple tree life cycle.
That's right. I have had so much fun today, scholars. We hope you've enjoyed learning all about the importance of trees and their life cycle with us.
Certainly. Please join us again soon as we continue to explore all kinds of events and cycles in our world. Thanks for doing your best job today, scholars. Be sure to share something you learned today with someone in your home.
All rights and credits for today's lesson belong to Core Knowledge Language Arts. We would like to thank them for publicly sharing these valuable resources. The views and opinions expressed in this lesson are those of the Core Knowledge authors and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of the Mississippi Department of Education. Thank you for joining us today, boys and girls. We will see you next time.